I didn't want to do another Knight Rider. That Knight Rider was and is a legendary show.
For years, fans admired the turbo boosts, the bulletproof car, and David Hasselhoff's charm in Knight Rider. But now at 72, he reveals it was all a facade. Behind the scenes were addiction, danger, secrecy, and chaos. The smooth ride on screen hid a reckless life off camera, one filled with near-death stunts and personal battles. And the truth he's sharing now? You were never meant to know it. The shy kid who learned to perform. David Hasselhoff wasn't always the sure-of-himself star we know him as now. He was born in Baltimore in 1952, but his childhood was anything but stable. David was always the new kid because his family had to move because of his dad's job. He could never settle down. He had to start over with every move, which wasn't fun. He was shy and thought it would be impossible for him to fit in, but that test shaped his path. David grew up in a strict Catholic home with 4 sisters. He often felt like he was in the background. His parents loved him, but were also strict, and having high standards didn't make things easier. He had to make his own space in a house full of girls because he was the only boy in the family. But David found a way to express himself through the arts, even though he had trouble fitting in. He did his first performance when he was 7 years old and got a small part in a school play. What David did on the first stage changed everything. He felt like he belonged when he was performing, which he couldn't find anywhere else. He could finally stand out, be seen, and be heard when he was on stage. He learned to sing, dance, and speak in public over time. These skills helped him build a base and find his way in the world. David had already built a strong base by the time his family moved to LaGrange, Illinois. He threw himself into school activities once he felt more stable. He didn't just take part. He was in charge of the choir, the volleyball team, and the school plays. He became more sure of himself as a young man because of these things. By the time he graduated, he was a natural leader with the charisma that would make him famous. David was made to be famous, even though he wasn't born that way. People around him couldn't see him because he had trouble with instability as a child, but performing made people see him. It wasn't just about talent. It was about making a place for himself in a world that made him feel little a lot of the time. Through his desire to be heard on stage, he became the man who would become a worldwide icon. David wasn't NBC's first choice, but one stunt gone wrong, one car gone rogue, made him the only man left standing. Knight Rider's rise. David Hasselhoff's road to Knight Rider started in the most unlikely way. Before anyone knew his name, he was taking whatever roles he could find. In one of his first films, he played a character named Boner in a low-budget movie called Revenge of the Cheerleaders. It was embarrassing, but it got him into the Actors Union. That one step helped him land a longer, more serious role on The Young and the Restless. For 6 years, he played Dr. Snapper Foster, the responsible brother in a soap opera family. It wasn't exciting, but it taught him discipline and built his fan base. When he left the show, he didn't have much lined up. That changed when NBC president Brandon Tartikoff started hunting for a new kind of leading man. He didn't want tough or rugged. He wanted someone people trusted. Producer Glenn Larson pitched Knight Rider as a modern Western. The hero would be a quiet loner, but instead of a horse, he'd have a talking car. Tartikoff liked the idea, but casting was a challenge. Larson said the car would be the real star, so the actor had to convince people it was alive. Hasselhoff wasn't the most skilled actor, but he had warmth, charm, and believability. That's why they gave him the role. He didn't have to carry the whole show. The car would do half the work. KTT, short for Knight Industries 2000, was designed around a black Pontiac Trans Am. Michael Sheffey built the first one with custom lights, gadgets, and sleek features. The goal was to make it feel futuristic without breaking the budget. At first, they only had one car. It was used for close-ups, with working lights and controls. But the show needed stunt cars, jump cars, and backup models. In 1983, a lucky break changed everything. A train carrying new Trans Ams derailed, and GM couldn't sell the damaged cars. They offered 10 of them to the show for just $1 each. It sounded like a dream deal, but there was a catch. GM said every car had to be destroyed after filming. No parts could be sold. It was a way to protect their brand and avoid liability. Each car was customized for different scenes. Some were hollow shells for crashes. Others had hidden compartments where stunt drivers could lie flat and steer. The main Kit T was used only for shots with Hasselhoff, but with so many dangerous stunts, things often went wrong. One of the most whispered stories from the set is known as the Phantom Car incident. During early tests of the self-driving rig, a malfunction caused the car to roll off course. It reportedly crashed through a soundstage wall and injured a technician. No police report was filed, and no lawsuit followed. Crew members say the accident was buried to avoid bad press. The studio stayed quiet. Even Hasselhoff didn't mention it in interviews. But insiders say that one moment changed how stunts were done moving forward. Safety was tightened, but the culture of silence remained. The audience saw polished action. The crew saw the risk. Knight Rider felt futuristic, but the production behind it was basic and often dangerous. Most of the effects were done by hand or with hidden drivers. The tech looked smooth, but the real cost came after the cameras stopped. Crashes were real. Injuries were real. Behind the scenes, people paid the price for every explosion and flying leap. Hasselhoff might have been the face of the show, but he wasn't the only one under pressure. The team worked fast, took risks, and followed orders. And when things went wrong, they were told to keep quiet. That silence became part of Knight Rider's legacy, even if no one ever saw it on screen. Behind the turbo boost, Knight Rider didn't just look dangerous. It was. The stunts were raw, real, and brutal. Jack Gill, the stunt coordinator, lived through it with injuries to prove it, including a titanium plate in his neck from past crashes. The action scenes weren't camera tricks. When cars jumped, flipped, or exploded, someone felt it. Some jumps were especially risky. Gill once leaped from a moving semi-truck going 50 miles an hour, with only a few inches between his body and the pavement. These were not soft landings. The cars were custom-built, some made of lightweight fiberglass to catch air better. Others were packed with safety gear, not for comfort, but for survival. Each KT car had its purpose. One might be designed for a high jump, another just to crash and burn. Some even had stunt drivers, hidden flat inside, steering the car from beneath the dashboard. From the outside, it looked like magic. On set, it was stressful and dangerous. Tensions rose between Hasselhoff and Gill. The car was the star, but both men wanted to be in control. Hasselhoff felt like a sidekick when Gill was driving from inside the car, making the hero look cool. Gill felt he was doing the real work, risking his body for the shots. It created resentment and regular arguments. Then came a surprising twist. The voice of KT, played by actor William Daniels. He never appeared on screen, and he didn't even meet Hasselhoff until after the first season. But his smooth voice made Kit unforgettable. As Kit grew more popular, Hasselhoff started to feel second place in his own show. The car had become more famous than the man inside. By season 3, the pressure was building. The show had a fast schedule, dangerous stunts, and rising expectations. Hasselhoff began drinking more heavily. Officially, production delays were blamed on exhaustion, but insiders knew they were hangovers. One major episode, Goliath Returns, was filmed under a cloud of headaches and quiet cover-ups. The stunts hurt his body, but the fame messed with his head. Hasselhoff had fans everywhere, but he started to lose himself in the role. It all came to a breaking point during one emotional moment in 1983. A young fan with leukemia visited the set. He told Hasselhoff that Michael Knight gave him hope, then passed away days later. That moment haunted him. Hasselhoff kept the boy's letter for years. He stopped thinking of Michael Knight as a job and started thinking of him as a duty. He began believing he had to live up to the image of a perfect hero, even off-camera. But that kind of pressure can crack a person. Off-screen, Hasselhoff was hurting. He had no room to fail, no space to rest, and nowhere to go with his emotions. He drank to cope, trying to balance fame with the sadness building inside him. The producers didn't step in, they just pushed the schedule forward. The show must go on, even if the star is falling apart. Behind the cool car and action scenes was a man struggling to hold it all together. The fans saw him as strong, calm, and noble. But inside, he was tired, frustrated, and overwhelmed. He kept working, kept smiling, but each episode pushed him closer to a breakdown. Living as a hero on screen had made him feel empty in real life. Knight Rider gave Hasselhoff fame.
Knight Rider, a shadowy flight into the dangerous world of a man.
But it also took pieces of him. The stunts left scars. The arguments created stress. The voice of Ket overshadowed him. And the pressure to live like a hero led him down a dark path. What nearly destroyed him wasn't the car or the crashes. It was trying to become someone who never got to be human. Knight Rider saved lives. But in 2007, Hasselhoff couldn't save his own, caught crawling, shirtless, and broken on the floor. The Burger video and Hollywood's darkest mirror. After Knight Rider, David Hasselhoff hit a wall. Hollywood saw him as a one-role actor. Every audition ended in rejection. His name became a punchline, and serious projects stayed out of reach. He was famous, but no one believed he could do anything else. With doors closing in the US, Hasselhoff found new life overseas. He released music in Europe and became a massive star in Germany. His single Looking for Freedom exploded as the Berlin Wall fell. Crowds chanted his name like he was a symbol of unity. In Germany, he wasn't a washed-up actor. He was a hero. Back home, things stayed rough. Then came Baywatch. NBC canceled the show after one season. But Hasselhoff believed in it so much, he bought the rights himself. He helped relaunch the series and became a producer. The gamble paid off, and Baywatch turned into a global sensation. With Baywatch booming in over 140 countries, Hasselhoff became the richest TV actor on Earth. But money didn't ease the pressure. Running the show brought more stress, and his personal life was crumbling. As the spotlight got brighter, so did his need to escape. Drinking became a regular way to cope. He checked into the Betty Ford Center in 2001, but left after just 8 days. That same night, he was hospitalized. It became clear he wasn't ready to face his addiction. These weren't isolated moments. They were signs of a man unraveling. He kept pretending he was okay, even when everything was falling apart. Then came May 3rd, 2007, the day everything changed. A private video surfaced of Hasselhoff lying shirtless on the floor, trying to eat a hamburger. His daughter Taylor had recorded him. It wasn't for revenge. It was a cry for help. She wanted him to see the truth. The footage was raw and real. It showed a broken man far from his television image. Hasselhoff didn't know it was being filmed, and that's what made it hit so hard. There was no script, no role, just a father caught in the worst moment of his life. When it leaked, it exploded across the internet. Every late-night host ran it. Memes spread. Jokes followed him everywhere. The man who once symbolized heroism now represented failure. His career was mocked. His face became a viral joke, and his personal life got dragged through every tabloid. At the same time, his divorce turned toxic. His ex-wife accused him of everything from substance abuse to infidelity. Court battles became routine, with fights over custody and finances. Papers were filled with details no one should have read. Through it all, Hasselhoff tried to stay connected to his daughters. Eventually, he won full custody of both girls. But the damage to his public image was deep. The hamburger video became part of pop culture history. He was no longer Michael Knight or Mitch Buchanan. He was the guy on the floor, lost and humiliated. Yet behind that image, something important was happening. After tragedy, addiction, and redemption, Hasselhoff isn't just a survivor. He's the last man standing who still believes heroes matter. The real truth about Knight Rider. By 2010, David Hasselhoff was no longer hiding from his past. He joined the Comedy Central roast and let the world laugh with him, not at him. The burger video was no longer a wound. It became part of the journey. Accepting the jokes helped him begin to heal. For the first time in years, he was in on the joke, not the target of it. In 2018, Hasselhoff found peace in a place few expected: marriage. He married Hayley Roberts, a Welsh shop assistant who had asked him for a selfie years earlier. Their bond wasn't built on fame or chaos. It came from quiet moments and real connection. After decades of turbulence, he finally had stability. In 2021, he said something that changed how fans looked at Knight Rider. He told an interviewer, "It was never about a talking car."
I've been seeing stuff where my car has been going out since 2008. I'm going, well, no wonder that car is making a great living.
It was about believing people could change. That single sentence redefined the show's legacy. It wasn't about future tech, it was about present hope. What made that statement so powerful was how accurate it had become. The tech from Knight Rider, once considered fantasy, is now real.
I wanted to grow up and have a car just like Kit. This car was so technologically advanced.
Right.
Self-parking cars, voice-controlled navigation.
Michael, I believe there is a considerable risk factor involved in this operation.
Vacation, not operation.
And vehicle collision sensors exist in everyday vehicles. The show didn't just predict the future, it inspired the people who built it. Underneath all the showbiz glitter, Knight Rider gave people something to believe in. It wasn't just about KT's gadgets or flashy jumps. It was about justice, second chances, and making the world better, one mission at a time. That message stuck with people far longer than the action scenes. It became part of their personal stories. In 2025, tragedy hit again. Hasselhoff's ex-wife, Pamela Bach, died by and the news broke across every outlet. The media circled, looking for a statement. But Hasselhoff didn't respond the way he once might have. He asked for privacy, and this time, the world gave it to him. The pain didn't disappear. It just became part of the larger picture. Hasselhoff had been through fame, collapse, and recovery, and now grief. But he didn't retreat. He kept moving, kept showing up, and kept remembering what made him famous in the first place. At Comic-Con events around the world, he's still Michael Knight to thousands. Fans line up with old lunchboxes, VHS covers, and toy cars. He still signs posters of Kitty T and smiles when kids tell him how the show changed their lives. For many, Knight Rider wasn't just a show. It was a lifeline.
Knight Rider, a shadowy flight into the dangerous world of a man who does not exist.
And Hasselhoff treats that responsibility seriously. In interviews, David Hasselhoff often says he'd go back to the Knight Rider set in a heartbeat if he could change just one thing. But he never says what that thing is. He leaves it hanging, like a shadow over everything that happened. Maybe it's the drinking that wrecked key moments. Maybe it's the people he pushed away when the spotlight burned too hot. Or maybe it's how he let the fame get bigger than the man. The regret isn't loud, but it lingers in his words, his tone, his pauses. What matters now is that he survived it all. Fame tried to break him. Addiction tried to bury him. Time tried to erase him. But he's still here, still honest, and still standing. That's a kind of heroism even Knight Rider didn't show. The truth is, David Hasselhoff was never perfect. He made mistakes, big ones, but he never gave up. Through it all, he proved something deeper than turbo boosts or cool cars. He proved that even broken people can get back up. Knight Rider was never just about the future. It was about faith in technology, in justice, and most of all, in people. At 72, Hasselhoff has finally said what no one else dared. He's not just a man who drove a talking car, he's the man who lived long enough to tell the real story behind it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click on the next video popping up on your screen for more amazing content.